Welcome to a crash course in video marketing secrets for real estate agents. It's a short training covering the basics on why video is such a powerful marketing tool, particularly in social media news feeds for real estate agents, and how you can leverage it, okay? What works and how to make it look really good. Okay, so why video works? Well, there's a couple of reasons that video works so powerfully well in social media news feeds. And the first one's fairly obvious. It's where we spend all our time. There's very few people these days that aren't on and active on at least one platform. It's what we use to pass time when we're running ahead of time or we're being held up somewhere or when we're bored, whatever. We're in a news feed of some sort. So about 90% of newsfeed content is consumed on mobile phones. So that's one of the things that you need to consider when you are making real estate videos that you want to post in news feeds, is people are watching it on mobile phones, not on big screens. So that affects the way you set up your content, the way it looks, the way it's framed, what you try and fit into that screen. And also think about what people are doing when they're in the news feed. Are they there actively looking for a new home, or are they just passing time and looking for a bit of entertainment and some escapism? Think about that. We'll touch more on that soon. Also, social media news feeds are an incredibly low cost way to reach a highly targeted audience. Now, you do need to spend a bit of money on Facebook. LinkedIn, not so much, but Facebook and Instagram, definitely. The organic reach on LinkedIn is still running at about 25%. So that means if you post something in LinkedIn, about 25% of the people that you're connected with will have that content appear in their news feed. And if they're online at that time or around that time, they're likely to see it. Whereas on Facebook and Instagram, that organic reach is now down to around 5%. So it's not a lot. So think about it as something that you do need to incorporate into your marketing budget. And when you think about it in terms of what a full page or a half page, branding ad, personal branding ad in one of the color lift outs in the local newspaper costs, you get a lot more bang for your buck, your advertising and marketing buck, spending in promoting your content in the news feeds. And you can target it. You don't have to worry that maybe the Saturday rag hasn't been delivered in your local area, and that $3,000 you just dropped on some personal branding isn't going to be seen because the local kid who was supposed to be delivering hasn't delivered on that particular day. And also the other big thing, and this is the most powerful thing, this is the psychology and the science of why video and newsfeed works, is a thing called the parasocial effect. What is the parasocial effect? Well, it's this. It's a concept that was actually sort of recognized and studied back in the 1950s. And what it relates to is why people can feel so connected to a person they've never met just because they've been exposed to their image in the media. So in the 50s, we're probably, drawing on relationships that cinema goers had with film stars, or with, in the later 50s, it would be people that they saw on television, or, people who had columns in newspapers. It's that continual and sustained exposure to a persona that we connect with. Is because humans are social, and we're visual. So what we see and what we're continually exposed to, we connect with. And if we like it and it resonates with us, then a relationship is built. So this is why video is so powerful for developing know, like, and trust with your audience. And the fact that you can target so precisely makes video and social media news feeds just awesome for real estate agents, literally a match made in heaven. So what I want you to think about is likes and comments on your content vanity metrics, really. They're lovely to have, but it's not a measure of how successful your content and your hard work and your efforts have been. So I've got somebody that I work with in this sphere, and he's actually somebody that I recommend for real estate agents. I'll talk about him a bit later on. It's Nick Friend from Bespoke Media. We actually do a bit of work together. Bespoke Media, he'd like that. Bespoke Media. And, you know, he gets people saying, well, look, Nick, you don't seem to have many likes or comments on some of your posts. And he's like, I don't care about that. Look at the back end. Look at how many people have seen my content. This has made an impression with them. And because Nick is really consistent and quite prolific with his posting, these people are seeing him probably every couple of days. I mean, he's in news feeds probably twice a day. He posts a lot, and that's powerful for him. He is now generating inbound leads because people have developed a parasocial relationship with him. So don't worry if your content isn't getting likes and comments. People are still seeing it. Now, where this really works for real estate agents is your clients are coming to you every 7, 5, 7, 10 years on average. So in those gaps, they're not actively thinking about real estate unless they're a real estate hobbyist. And you know, they're sort of a very small portion of the market, of your marketplace. Everybody else is going about their business. They might have, you know, they'll obviously have a bit of a, you know, a curiosity and an invested interest when there's interest rate hikes, or there's a you know, perhaps a new record in their local area. But above and beyond that, they don't really care. So they're going to be scrolling in the news feed, and if they see your content, they see your name and they see your stuff, that's great. It's layering in their brain on an unconscious level, so that then when they do move into real estate mode and they start thinking about things like that, then you're going to start filtering up. It's how the brain works. It's what a parasocial relationship, you know, how it works, how it's built, and how it functions. So if you are consistently posting in the news feed, and particularly using video because it's the next best thing to being face-to-face, you're going to have a cumulative effect. So even if you haven't been selling more than anybody else, you are going to feel like, to your audience, the most dominant agent in their area because you are the one they have been exposed to the most. So that's what we're working towards leveraging. Hope that makes sense. Now, there's some numbers that really, really help people to understand the power of video and having a presence in news feeds. Okay, so we'll start with some social media stats that you may or may not be aware of. The algorithm tends to measure things in anything over a 3-second exposure. So if somebody dwells on your post for longer than 3 seconds, it's considered a view. That may not seem like a lot, but when we get into this next slide in a bit more detail, you'll see the power that you can have, the impact that you can have with just a 3-second exposure. So 3 seconds, your content has to captivate and hook and create interest for your viewer inside 3 seconds. And then usually the attention span is around 10 to 15 seconds. People will watch for that length of time. And if what you have is super relevant to them, they may stay for longer, but otherwise they'll move on. So it's kind of the opposite in a way to a lot of long form video that's created for, you know, television or boardroom viewing, is that people, you know, you sort of generate a bit of interest and hook and introduce concepts at the beginning and then deliver the value at the end because you want them to stay to the end. If you approach your newsfeed video that way, it's not going to be as powerful for you. You have to do the diamond at the front, but we'll get into that later on in the crash course. So it takes less than 1/4 of a second to capture the eye, okay? This is because humans are visual processors, and you know, from way back in caveman times, before we had language and we had a lot of threats in our external environment, we had that power, that visual capacity to just catch things, you know, just the slightest bit of movement or color in our peripheral vision would register with our, you know, our life-saving part of our brain as, you know, potentially a threat, and would respond to that. So we process information visually very, very quickly, much quicker. Like as an example, say for a dog or a cat, they process through scent mainly and hearing, not so much visually, but humans, visual processors. So how quickly do we process? It's actually 0.11 of a second is all it takes for a human to be able to recognize something, to capture attention, and for the brain to process that visual. So this next slide has about 10 images that are all on the screen for such a brief period of time. This slide is actually about, I think it's a smidge over 1 second long. So just want to demonstrate how powerful a visual exposure is for you in your in a news feed. So check this out. Okay. That was fast, and you probably didn't get them all, but there's definitely some images there that you would recognize. Now I play it again. Oh, go back a slide. Here, so we play it again. You see, the more you're exposed to those images, the more that you start to recognize and remember and recall. And like if I said, okay, give me 4, you'd probably be able to. So those images were on the screen for about 1/10 of a second, each of them. So that is what we're working on when it comes to the power of video and having your image and what you do working for you in a news feed. And that is why likes and comments aren't an indicator of success. Now, what we're going to be getting into next in our crash course is making videos. So what makes a good video for a real estate agent in news feeds, and some of the shoulds and shouldn'ts. So that's up next in the crash course.